Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Delighted that you could join us. Alan Ruff and Hugh McDonald are with me, Peter Martin, on this Thursday. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, join the football family. Of course, you can stream it, share it and subscribe, and you'll be in with a chance of winning some fabulous competitions as well, all the way through to the summer. We've got some belters for you. This one, this week, is very much a special prize for you.
Another fantastic competition from PLZ Soccer. You can win this Lionel Messi Argentina World Cup winning replica jersey by answering this simple question. Who did Argentina defeat in the 2022 World Cup final? Post your answers in the comments section below. If you want to double your chances of winning, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that indeed. Thanks to everyone who's joining us, and I have to say thanks to lots of people, Nicky and Paul and Bob, who says it's the old team on today. Oh yeah, that's a kick in the teeth right away. We haven't even started yet, Ruffy, and we're getting it in the neck.
I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
It's better than the alternative, isn't it, Ruffy?
That's exactly it. That's coming a wee bit later on, by the way. So the competition, good luck with that. There's been lots of good competition prizes, and we are in the process of sending as many of them out as we possibly can. We've got lots to talk about. The Viaplay League Cup final. Give us your thoughts, who's going to win it. And also we'll be talking about Dundee United, Motherwell with their new manager, Champions League, Europa League. It's all packed into the show today. We've also thrown in a wee quiz question. Have a think about this. Which Premier League player plays with his name spelt incorrectly on his shirt? We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. It's a good question, this one. I'm well happy with our journalist Patrick for coming up with it. Which Premier League player plays with his name spelt incorrectly on his shirt? We'll give you the answer at the end of the programme. So, first topic, before we talk about the League Cup, is Motherwell have confirmed Stuart Kettlewell as their new manager. We sent our man Adam Binney out there to find out what all the fuss is about.
Last night it was announced that Stuart Kettlewell had been appointed the new manager of Motherwell Football Club, the Fir Park side, concluding their search for a placement for previous manager Stevie Hamill. Stuart Kettlewell had taken charge of the side in their previous two matches as caretaker, getting wins over St Mirren and then Hearts. So I made my way to Fir Park this morning to speak to the main man, Stuart Kettlewell, about his appointment.
Yeah, I said it last night when I spoke to the guys for the football club. I'm immensely proud. I'm absolutely delighted to, one, have been offered the role, but two, to accept it and accept it because I have a genuine belief, along with senior figures at the football club, that there's something that can be achieved and there's success that we can gain as a football club. So it's not an easy decision. I get that at times people think about the opportunity and the fact it's a Premiership club in Scotland and a high profile club. I understand all those factors, but really important for me that there's a vision and a goal moving forward, short, medium and long term, and I've kind of looked into that, spent a lot of time doing that. And I feel that all joins up, so that's the bit that really excites me.
Kettlewell went on to talk about how this is a mid to long term project and not a short term fix. That's something that him and the board are both very clear about. He says he's a loyal manager, he enjoys these long term projects. So when asked about what his goals are for Motherwell, Kettlewell says he has his eyes set on a potential return to European football.
My long-term vision for the football club, and it's always been the case, this football club has, and I'm not going to make any wild predictions or anything like that, this football club has had the opportunity to play in Europe. This football club has on occasions been a top six club and has firmly been in that mix. So I'm not going to shy away from a task. I think it's one of the biggest football clubs in this country. It's right up there. We all know the kind of bracket of your Rangers, your Celtics, Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs, all these kind of clubs that are in there. But when you look at the achievements of the Livingstons and the St Mirrens this season, we firmly want to be in that mix. That's where we want to be, in that top half of the table, and hopefully seeing if we can achieve some kind of European football and get on that journey as well.
Well, Phil Marston, nice to have ambition, Ruffy.
Yeah, he's always been a good talker, even though he's at Ross County. He comes over very well. I'm sure he didn't have to convince the people in charge at Motherwell. I think his record since he's went in, has been very good. It's been very positive. He was the right person at the right time. It looks as if the senior players have bought into what he's doing. They're all saying good things about him. So that's what happens when you get a couple of wins. But no, I think he's a good manager.
Yeah, the right appointment, picking up on what Ruffy said, with a couple of wins, should they have maybe looked further afield, or do you just get that vibe sometimes from the work that somebody's already doing within a club?
I think it's the pragmatic appointment as well. I wouldn't imagine there's huge amounts of money swishing about there. I think if they're sitting there and saying, right, we know who he is, we know how he works, we like the guy, and he's got a couple of results, I think it was pretty straightforward for them, rather than maybe bringing in somebody else with the cost that involves, with the risk that involves. I do smile though when everybody talks about long-term projects. I mean, a long-term project for a manager is a week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, there's nobody that can talk about long-term. I love it, and I know why they do it. But if you don't have to look at the statistics, you don't have to look at Motherwell this season. Everything is about the short term for Motherwell. Everything. And it is for most managers, but particularly for Motherwell. They're talking about, this is not about a short-term fix. It is about a short-term fix.
Well, here's the short-term immediate goal, Hugh. Have a look at it, because these are the fixtures they've got coming up.
Well, there's, what? Couldn't have a better first fixture when we're talking about short-term fixes. If you talk about the next two games, if he gets 2 wins that he's had already, ever in the garden is rosy.
Yeah.
See, if he doesn't get 2 wins and he gets 2 defeats, suddenly everybody's back on his back. It's that volatile, Pierre. It's literally that volatile.
And those 2 wins with the particular clubs you're talking about, they could be the games that actually not make them safe, but puts about a real gap, doesn't it?
Once you get a bit of blue water between yourself and say, for example, a Kilmarnock saying a Dundee United, once you get, because I think they'll be the ones that, then everything settles down. Then the confidence in the team comes back. You can play Rangers with a bit of hope in your heart, a bit of on the front foot, saying to yourself, do you know what, this is not what it's all about. We get in today it'd be good, but the next 2 games are, it's a cliche to say, but particularly if you're playing against your fellow bottom 6 clubs at this time of the season, that's your games, that's your season.
It's strange though, when you look at it, Ruffy, and you can't I can't work it out. Stephen Hamill was a club legend, a good player. Really, he's one of those guys you would say was a 7, 8 out of 10 every week. And he tried to get something out of that squad, and it was like 1 win in, I think, 11 or 12 matches. Couldn't get anything out of them. And then Stuart Kettlewell gets 2 wins. For me, a lot of those players just cheated their manager.
Yeah, the old saying is down tools. I've certainly never been in a dressing room when guys have down tools. I've been in dressing rooms where confidence is low. And
have you ever been in a dressing room though, Ruffy, where your teammates just... Well, you have. I know you're going to say a couple of... Have you ever been in a dressing room with the manager, you think, I just don't like him, I don't like the way he goes about his business, I don't like the way he wants us to play? Have you sensed from players that they're just not responding to his ideas?
Yeah, maybe that's the case, that might be the feeling before you walk on the park. But once you walk on the park, that all goes out the window, because you're playing for your teammates, you're playing for yourself as well, the pride of the club. So that's in the back burner. You might hold that Monday to Friday, but I don't think you take it onto a game, But I can reverse that the other way when you get a manager, say like Pat Stanton, and you really want to do well for him because he is the guy, he's a really nice, and you really want to fight. I get that bit where you're all collectively together. I know where you're coming from, but I've never went out on a park and whether I didn't like the manager and want to play well.
But I was sitting in the Parkhead stand, the Fir Park stand, watching Motherwell, who couldn't string 3 passes against St Johnstone. And then all of a sudden you have two games where, there's flicks here, there's triangles here, there's goals going into the back there. Yes, there's a wee bit of luck that goes there as well.
There's a lot of luck in football. There's a lot of confidence. Confidence is huge. See, we've said this before. See, after Hearts are not particularly great at the moment, but after Hearts, down the rest of the league, there's not much between them, and certainly when you get into the bottom six, the margins are tiny between the teams. And if you've got a wee bit of confidence, if you're on the front foot, and if things go for you, it goes a long way in that bottom six. It really does.
And the other thing as well is if you're in that bottom three and you're in that bottom three for the beginning of the season, for nearly half the season, 2/3 of the season, your confidence is shattered. The fans are having a go at you, everybody's having a go at you, even...
And mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just doesn't become a nice place to walk into training in the morning. But then you get the win, and it doesn't matter who you beat, then football's football. You start... Right, we're on a run now, let's go. And that's what's happened with Kettlewell. Thing I was going to add as well, Motherwell haven't really come out and said they did a due diligence and other managers. I don't remember anybody else getting interviewed. I don't remember them saying, he's in for it, he's in for it. So for me, there must have been 4 or 5 guys fancied that job. And when them going down the road of giving it to Kettlewell, that's a blow for everybody that's not on that roundabout.
Well, I think we know Ian Holloway was there to have a chat.
I meant the Scottish ones, Peter. I meant Scottish managers.
Hughes,
yeah, they'd be interested in that job, and they haven't even been given a sniff.
I think as well, though, sometimes again, when you're in any line of business you're in, if you're in the mire, and you say to yourself, the season's like this, and relegation is huge, and you say to yourself, who do we know? Who do we, I think that's why Stevie Hamill got it in the first place.
Yeah.
They said, right, we just go with this.
But you say that, Hugh, but it's the only business where you can give the steering wheel to a novice to try and save you millions.
Yep, exactly that as well. And the fact of the matter is, as well, is that it just doesn't happen at the end of the table with likes Stevie Hamill. You see the novices getting it. At the other side of the table, you see the Frank Lampard's getting it, the Steven Gerrard's getting it.
Yeah,
it's a huge business for just for relying on playing ability, and the guy talks a good game. What Kettlewell has got that Stevie couldn't have, because that was his first job. Kettlewell's got experience, and Kettlewell's been under fire as well. He's been under fire with Ross County. He'll have learned a lot from that. Some stuff that he wouldn't have wanted to learn, some stuff that'll be painful for him, but he'll have learned from that. And that might be enough. But again, if somebody said to me, what do you wish Stuart Kettlewell at Motherwell? I wish him luck, because luck goes a long way.
Absolutely. One of my old bosses saying, better been lucky than good. And in this game, you do need that little bit of it, as Hugh mentioned there. If you're a Motherwell fan, what do you make of Stuart Kettlewell? Is he the man to get you away from the relegation dogfight at the bottom? Give us your thoughts on that. Okay, Sunday, Hampden Park, 3 o'clock kickoff. Celtic Rangers in the Viaplay League Cup final. The last time these two sides met in the final, it was 2019, and with that in mind, it was an interesting feature in the paper this morning. It was looking at the squads that played there. Rangers are practically the same squad, bar maybe one. Celtic have completely and utterly transformed the team. They've only got 2, Callum McGregor and James Forrest, remain.
Yeah, well, I think we spoke about it on the show on numerous occasions that Celtic had to have a bigger turnover than anybody else. I think at one stage we were talking about 17 players would have to leave the club. So it was a total rebuilding job, and that's what they've done. Surprisingly, they've done it very, very quickly. I think hands off to Ange for that one, and the people for behind the scenes, because it used to take forever and a day to get it sorted. But he's went in, identified the kind of player, the kind of quality he wants, and he's got them in, and he's got them playing well.
It's incredible, the changes, isn't it?
Yeah, but it just shows you, Peter, how quickly it can be done if you've got the right people to help. You can look at tonight. We'll have words about it later. We're looking forward to a great game tonight, Manchester United v Barcelona. But at the beginning of the season, you look at Manchester United, everybody say, it's a basket case, it'll take 5 years to turn that club down, 10, will they ever turn it around? And, 5 or 6 months later, they're challenging for the title. I don't think they'll win the title, but they're actually challenging for the title.
Strange things could happen in that whole situation, and with that in mind, it's probably doubly difficult to suggest that a manager is going to completely transform a Celtic squad to the point where they win the league back and now they're going to chase a treble.
Yeah, I mean, but that is what. If you talk to all the great, you know, if you talk to all the Peter Lawwells or the Clive, the Woodwards or the whoever in a football club, they always tell you the manager. I mean, the manager's the most important person in the club because he can change the culture. The culture, he can change it very, very quickly. And what Postecoglou did at Celtic initially is he's changed that. He changed the way they played. He changed the personnel. He changed what was happening in the dressing room. He's changed the culture of, and you've seen it with Giakoumakis and others, if you don't fancy it, fine, cheerio, you're off. I'm not picking you, you're sold, you're going. Whereas under previous managers, and I think, and I've got great sympathy for Neil Lennon and the chase for the 10, where he was hampered with 4 or 5 guys in the dressing room that just didn't want to be there, yet politically, it was very difficult to sell them because if you sold them, there'd be an uproar. But if you look back now, in that on that season, would it have been best to sell Edouard at in Cham, maybe even Frimpong at that time of the season? Absolutely, that would have been the best thing to do. But it'd have been impossible to do with the fans. So it just shows you how quick a decisive man at the helm can change things. And I noticed. With the Ten Hag thing, you get the feeling with him, it's his way of the highway, and you saw it with the highest profile player in the world, maybe not necessarily the best player in the world, but the highest profile player in the world in Ronaldo, where he just said, you know what, mate, enough's enough. Yeah,
and of course Ange Postecoglou has managed to do that with a couple of players as well, as he continues to mould that team the way he wants it to, get him to, well, whatever his ambitions are, he keeps them pretty close to his chest. I think the message that he's giving to most of the players who are playing for him at the moment is, give it your all. When it gets to finals, savour that moment.
Age experience sometimes, not always, gives you wisdom, and you know, I know what it's like when you're playing career ends, and as I keep telling the players, and you know, you've seen stories of players even recently who really struggled at the end of their careers. You miss it all. You miss training, you miss the bad days, you miss the bad coaches, you'd have it all back. It's not that you just miss, you know, the big games or the big moments. You miss it all. And
well, you know all about that, Ruff. You know exactly what he's talking about, that dressing room banter.
Yeah, I think any player who retires, and I'm always surprised when I see players retiring at 31 and 32 because they've been in the game for 10 years, they've experienced everything that he's just said there, and it is a void in your life because if you've been in it for 15, 20 years, you'll get used to coming in the morning, you get used to the banter, you get used to the highs and lows of playing football, you've get used to people patting you in the back, you've got as a hero, and you know, people coming up to you and asking for your autograph and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it is a void, you know, and as we've spoken this show, there's a lot of people we've had in, ex-players, find it very difficult to bridge that void, you know, because they have nothing planned for when they finish.
And if you and I could drive a DeLorean outside and get you to just punch in the details of the year that we could take you back to, Ruffy, what year would it be?
Could I not go forward? Well, they're getting lots of money. If I go back I'm back in the same financial situation. You put me in the DeLorean and go forward when I'm getting 400 grand a week rather than the 40 quid.
Yeah, but
I love that, Pierre, because every footballer you see them say, do you wish to play back in the old days? Oh no, we didn't get the money, but I really enjoyed it and we made friends.
Yeah.
Ruffy cuts to the chase. I love that.
Ruffy cuts to the financial chase in every question you ask him. So if I could take you back and they're going to pay you 40 grand a week, what year did you enjoy the most when you want to go back and you think, I'm back there?
Probably 70s.
70s,
yeah. Middle of 70s, yeah.
For the football?
Football, yeah.
Yeah, thank God for that. I could see his head whirring around there, and I thought, Angela, he's going through, Bessie, Katrina.
This is one of these songs, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mambo 60, whatever it is. Mambo 1975.
Okay, Ruffy, happy to turn the clock back, providing, of course, there's dosh involved. The game itself is a spectacle that we all love talking about. We'll get into the meat and bones of that the closer we get to the final. We'll get Hugh's prediction for it as well. Of course, it is a special game that as Ange Postecoglou mentioned, you want to savour. And Michael Beale will certainly savour it because he reckons the colour, the attraction of this, the atmosphere, all created by special fans.
Yeah, it does, and I think it brings the full colour to the fixture as well, doesn't it? And I think it's obviously I've only experienced that once before here in the League Cup final, the last time, but we did have it in the Scottish Cup semi-final last year, and I thought it made for a fantastic game that day as well. You know, the fans are everything for this game, ain't they? We saw that in the season or the year and so where we couldn't have full capacity. And fans are what the game's about. If there's no fans, there's no managers, there's no players, there's no professional sport. It's them that keep the game going.
Yeah, absolutely, because the one thing about it that everybody will notice for the players who haven't sampled it before is I always feel as maybe, I mean, there's a great atmosphere in the build-up, but 5 minutes before it's about to kick off, it's almost as if it's the old Spinal Tap moment. The volume goes up to 11, and it just, the hairs in the back of your neck, Hugh, in these matches starts to go up.
It's funny, I talked to Paul Hayward, the great English journalist, about this once. He was up for a Rangers Celtic game, and he'd done World Cup finals in Liverpool, Man United, Man City, and Arsenal. Done them all. This was the first Rangers Celtic game, was that? And he just stood there, and I was watching him, and he was sitting, and the jaw was there, and he turned round in hushed tones, he says, "Is this what?" I said, This is it. This is what it's like all the time.
Yeah.
Not just today. And I can't even remember the game, but it wasn't like a league decider. And, you know, it wasn't a particularly, sort of crucial game. It was just your normal run-of-the-mill madness game.
Yeah.
And he's just... I've never heard this. I never heard the likes of this before, and we were all sitting thinking, "This is usual. This is usual." But you were talking about the other night. They had been down at Anfield, and I noticed when I watched it on the telly, and they were coming in and saying, "Oh, look at the atmosphere out there, the bouncing." And I'm not trying yet. Anfield's a terrific stadium. Liverpool, a great club. But I've been down there for European games, and it's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, I'm not trying to be dismissive. But it's nothing, and part of the reason is it's much, much smaller.
It's a statement of fact, I mean, by the time they finish the new renovation in the stand, it'll be 61,000.
So you're getting there.
Unless you bring in 10,000 of what I would call the ultras from Rangers and the Green Brigade from Celtic, it's still not going to beat the atmosphere of because it's almost as if... I don't know if it's because they want to be entertained and they think they demand it because they've watched high-level football regularly. I'm not sure if it's that, but I certainly, you know, in games at Ibrox and Celtic Park, you know, European nights, the noise level's incredible. The sound, the singing, everything about it. The minute they come out and the Champions League music kicks in, it's almost as if somebody said, "By the way, this is the most special day ever. Let's just shout anything.
Just let's roar." And that's what happens. And you could see, like at Celtic Real Madrid earlier this season. I mean, you could see the Real Madrid players, and you will not get a more blasé, experienced, seen it all, done it all group in the world than these guys.
I'm glad you said that, and I'll tell you why. Because I specifically watched the Real Madrid players at the start of that game, and the one at Celtic Park, Luka Modric looked towards Toni Kroos, and they had a wee look at each other and they thought, "This is unbelievable." Not that they were Kroos. No, not that they were frightened.
No, of course not.
Because the funny thing is, when Liverpool went 2-0 up, my daughter, who's only 13, she said, "We've been in this movie before, Dad, haven't we?" And I went, "Absolutely. This is Real Madrid who are just going to come back. There's no panic.
No panic. Just play. Do what we do. And you're saying the two guys that are looking at each other is Modric and Kroos. I mean, they have
seen it, done it.
Goodness knows how many. I mean, played in World Cup finals, got more Champions League medals than that. I just think the thing about them as well, when you were looking at that game on Tuesday night, I know I'm going off piste a wee bit here, is the way that these guys, for all their ability, I know Kroos only came on late, but I'm talking about Real Madrid, it's that experience. They never panic. They never stop.
Yeah, Johnny V says they are delusional. Anfield is much louder. Johnny,
No.
I'm afraid you need to go to more football because I've been to Anfield on more than a few occasions, and in the days when I, as you know, Ruffy, when the cop moved, everybody moved, and and I was there when Dalglish was in his pomp, strutting his stuff with the number 7 on. There are great atmospheres, but not at this juncture. I certainly haven't witnessed it in some of the big games at Anfield.
No, I think away back the Cop. I mean, anybody saw that Cop. I mean, health and safety was out the window.
Yeah.
The way they all surged forward and surged back and everything, and it was just part and parcel of going there. And it did bring something to their game at that particular time.
Yeah. You know what's good about this game, Ruffy? I always like the build-up where somebody says something that just lights the touch paper. And here's Fashion Sakala about this one.
Yeah, obviously, I know how important the game is when you play it against the other mob. I believe that it's all about the badge, and I don't really think about my individual performance. Obviously, the most important thing is about the win for the fans, for the club, and the good performance for the players. So I think the impact that I brought in the last game was good for the squad, but I'm looking for more great performances against the other mob.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's been instructed in that. I mean, he's one of those boys who comes into a press conference and you actually, before he utters a word, you're smiling because he's got a happy face.
I don't think there's any malice in it. It's
No,
one of
but
these things
it's funny. You go.
It's funny. It's one of these.
The other mob.
It's obviously somebody's maybe been talking to him about. We're playing the other mob and the other mob. This, and he said, actually, I think he's crucial for Rangers. I think he's a guy, if you're a Rangers supporter and looking at reasons to back Rangers to win, I think Sakala's got to be in your statement of intent, because he's got pace, and pace frightens everybody. Doesn't matter what level you're playing at. We saw it at the Champions League the other week there, where a player worth over 100 million was embarrassed with somebody's pace. And pace can get you into areas, can create situations, and he's got it, and he's done it on a couple of occasions for Celtic. So I think he's be interesting to see who Michael Beale's got fit, and I would suggest that he must be looking at including him in the team.
Yeah. Okay. As far as the odds in this one, Celtic, 4-6, Rangers 5-4. The game to go to penalties 9-2, Ruffy. First goal scorer, Kyogo 19-4, O at 7-1, Jota at 7-1, Rangers, Morelos 13-2, Cholak 13-2, and Roof 7-1.
First of all, I don't think it's a 4-6 game, the favourite. No, I think it's much closer than that. I think Rangers have shown in a one-off game they have players with the ability to hurt Celtic. For me, it's on the day, the big players on the day, which side turns up the most. I mean, I think Celtic have got about 4 players that will hurt you. I think Rangers have got maybe 3 as well. That can, if 50% of them don't turn up, you've got a chance. Because if they're off their game, you might get hurt in certain positions. But I think it's a very, very close game. I think it's going to go right to the wire.
Yeah, penalties?
I hope no. No, I hope no. I don't want to be deciding penalties. I know penalties are exciting for everybody to watch, but I just hate the guy who misses the penalty. Because you're remembered for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
For the guy who misses the penalty and it costs us a game. We saw it in the World Cup.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing about it is, Ruffy, if you'd still been playing, you're the type of guy who would say, look, you've missed the penalty, you've cost us the game, we've lost the cup, get yourself together, you're all right. You've cost your whole teammates the bonus.
And get me £40,000.
Yeah. That's your man. He would mention it to the person who's missed the penalty.
I missed my bonus.
I know you feel bad, but let me actually paint the picture of what you've done with missing the penalty.
You could solve it all if you just work a bit harder and pay off my bonus.
You've done that before, Ruffy, haven't you?
No, I know people who have done that. I remember with Partick Thistle, we were in the semi-final of a cup, and I think it was John Hansen, and we got beat John made a mistake in the last minute of the game, and we come in after the game, he was sitting and he was really upset because he knew what he'd done. And I'd said to him, look, you've just got to get over it. And he said, I'd already brought a fridge with that money. Well, my bonus, the wife had went out and bought a fridge.
It's your worst nightmare, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Anyway, it's a tough one. It's tight. I'm not quite sure. We always sometimes in a final get a wee surprise team selection that everybody is predicting. I mean, people are talking about how crucial Tillman could be to Rangers. Whether Lundstrom's going to be in the act there. Is it that type of game? Is it a game where it needs somebody to put their foot in, or is it going to be the craft? How do you see it going?
I see it going two ways. I see it going, if Celtic score first and early, I think Celtic could win and win comfortably. And if it goes the other way into a grind, you could see Rangers triumphing. The games have been really strange. The last few Celtic Rangers games, when you go back, have either been blowouts, Celtic come, 3-0 up, 4-0 up, done, or they've been really, really tight games where, either
Does it need a grind in your mind for Rangers to win it?
I think Rangers will want a grind.
Yeah.
I don't think Rangers want to sit and let Celtic pass the ball about or sit deep. They'll want to get in. The game at Ibrox, which is the last evidence we have, Rangers were in trouble earlier on. But as soon as Rangers pressed high, aggressively, got Sakala breaking wide and quickly on the Celtic defence, got Kent doing the same on the other end, the game tilted on its head, and Rangers were worthy being up in the game.
Yeah.
But then I think made the crucial error of saying, and a very understandable error, going, well, maybe we should retreat a bit now and protect what we have, and Celtic came back into and equalised. I think Rangers very much to win. Rangers have to be on the front foot, aggressive, press far up the park, and hope that the big players have a good day.
Rangers have to produce a performance they did against Hearts.
No.
That same performance would hurt with that level of performance they had. But they have to bring that to the table. They can't just do it in a one-off. It's got to be there on the day.
Okay, Chris says Celtic's 5 quality subs will ensure this will not be a grind. The one thing about it that we are very much aware of is the fact, Ruffy, that this is no longer a game about 11 players.
No, particularly Celtic. Ange has already, shown us he's not frightened to take 3 off at half time. He's not frightened to take another 2 off, 10 minutes into the second half. He's quite happy to make their decisions, and he's making their decisions because he knows that the players that are coming on are maybe not as good as, but they're not far behind the players that he's taken off. And the proof's in the pudding with the way that they've been turning it on when they come on. They seem to have a hunger. If you're sitting on the bench, you can see them all. They're all keyed up, waiting, because they know they're going to come on.
Yeah.
5 of them know they're going to come on in this game, so they know what to expect. So they know, they've got to be prepared.
Yeah.
When he turns around and goes, right, you and you on.
Prediction?
I think Celtic win. I think if Celtic scored early, they win, and they win with more comfort. But I think so. But I can't be confident because recent games show that, I thought Rangers played really well at Ibrox on a big chunk of the game just before half time and well into the second half. If they come up with that, it's going to, there's a great case for Rangers to win. Really interested in the team selections, really interested in who Michael Beale's got fit and not got fit. I agree that Tillman is becoming bigger and bigger player. Who does he play up front? We're now talking about, it could have been Roof, but Roof's now seemingly injured. And really interesting. And the Celtic formation is interesting because I think most of us know that what the back 5 is, for example. I think the middle 3 with Moy, Hatate and McGregor are almost certain. Kyogo starts with the 2 wide men. That's interesting, I think. For what it's worth, I think Maeda starts because that's who Postecoglou loves.
Yeah.
So there's a whole batch of players looking for the the right hand side one now.
Absolutely, he likes Maeda for that high intensity. Okay, interesting stuff. Ruffy, the good thing is it's only Thursday. I know you've got 3 variations on your prediction.
Yeah, well, you weren't here on Tuesday. I had a wee slant on it there, but I told everybody that it was only Tuesday. I've got 3 days left before I come to the final decision, and I would like to get the teams. I know you don't like that. I want to see a team selection. I was going to ask you 2 questions because I was really confused this morning. As 2 hardened journalists, when I pick up the paper in the morning and I see that one paper has an exclusive, or not an exclusive, and nobody else has it,
Right.
Yes.
what does that tell me? Particularly the Rangers. I'm not saying the newspaper, but there was one particular paper said that Rangers fans should get up this morning because it looks as if the 4 players are going to be fit.
Yeah.
And then no other paper has got that bit.
Yes.
Does that tell me it's speculation, or do they know?
Well, in the olden days, and Hugh will concur with this, in the olden days, there was a real strong situation where you had a journalist who had an in with certain players or managers, or indeed some of the hierarchy in a board. It's less so now, but there's still the odd one out of left field who knows who's been fit, who's declared fit, and that can still seep out.
It can seep out. In the old days, you could have taken it to the bank. For example, the late great Ken Gallagher, if he had said something about David Murray back in the day, you would take that to banks, that's certain, because you know who he's getting it from. And if you said anything about Rangers, you knew Ken's contacts at Rangers were rock solid, and it was there.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, Jim Roger, the Jolly Roger in the old days, if he said something, you would know Jim Roger. If he said something, it was bang on, because he was actually playing almost the role of intermediate agent.
I was going to say, if he says you're getting transferred,
you don't know it.
Yeah.
But he's telling you.
Jim Roger, I met Jim Roger. I stayed in Newton Mearns at the time, and Partick Thistle told me I was going to Hibs, and I accidentally bumped into him in Newton Mearns at the shops. He said, "How you doing?" No, he had his wee suitcase. "How you doing?" "Fine, great." And happening, I went, stupidly said, "I think I might be going to Hibs, but don't tell anybody." It took me about an hour. It was everywhere.
But he actually brokered transfers. You know, people would go to him and say, I mean, Archie McPherson's got, tremendous stories about Jim.
Yeah.
You know, people would go to Jim and say, managers, clubs were thinking about getting X, Y, and Z. Well, I'll call in and
away you go.
Away you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, give us your thoughts. Who's going to win the first piece of silverware on offer in the Scottish football calendar? Who's going to be lifting that trophy on Sunday? Come about 5 o'clock, possibly longer, if Ruffy thinks it might go to penalties. Give us your thought on that. Thank you to so many of you who post on here. You're intelligent and at times, forthright in your opinion, as long as you try and keep it decent and keep your language well within the parameters. We won't need to ban you. The closer it gets towards Sunday, usually the more head bangers we get on the feed, so apologies if you are offended by anybody who's using choice language, or indeed starting to go down a stupid road with their comments. We are very, very lucky that a high percentage, 95 to 99% sometimes on this, love their club, give us their thoughts, give us their predictions, and we value that. So thank you to the majority of people who know how to keep sane. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you fall into that category. And as I always say to Ruffy, from the 10 years with myself, Ruffy and Hugh, if you can't do that, you don't fit into that category, this is not the show for you. It's certainly not on an old firm week, is it? Because that's when it really gets to the point where you think to them, wow. I think the passing of Ron Gordon the other day there puts into perspective, you can love your club, you can absolutely give it your all for your club, but it's not more important than life or death, I think, and lots of people have been really, really nice about that as well. So, and later on we'll be talking about some other people who are sadly no longer with us, that Hugh and I and Ruffy certainly remember with great fondness. So from the Viaplay League Cup final to Dundee United, their owner says he's sticking by Tony Asgar and Liam Fox. And I think Liam Fox, the manager's delighted with the, I wouldn't call it the dreaded vote of confidence, but I think he's got a message for the Dundee United fans who clearly want him out.
Well, I don't just think this weekend. I think it's really important that the supporters stick with the players, because listen, see if they want to boo me or they want to boo, that's absolutely fine, but I would ask them to stick with the players, because they're the ones that go out, and in these moments these guys need to feel their support, and we all understand their frustration, because I repeat again, we do not want to be sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, the reality is he's got to try and get a trick out of Dundee United, and that's the tough part. And they're starting. You can tell right now. You know, you only have to look at the mics on the table. People are hovering. They smell blood.
Absolutely smell it, and there's that element of kind of heightened voices and quaking voices around the club at the moment, and saying things that are getting taken and blown up, and you know that. I think they might be saved because they're in a real poor run. I think they might be saved by Kilmarnock. I think that's what they'll be looking for, because they are in a right poor run at the moment. But things change. I mean, a couple of weeks ago we were saying, you know, Motherwell. Yep. Now, with one bound, they're not quite free, but they're in a better place. With 2 bounds, Motherwell in the next 2 games that we discussed, they would be well on the way to happy days are here again. So it can change quickly, but that old business of needing to change now, it really has to for them.
Yeah, if we're talking about the League Cup final, all you have to do is look at the Scottish Premiership fixtures this weekend to see how crucial it is, and what Hugh's talking about. Aberdeen against Livingston, it's Kilmarnock against Motherwell, which I think is a huge game down at Rugby Park. Ross County, Dundee United, equally so up there in Dingwall. Because both of them in the mire at the moment. That's one of those games. It's a scrappy game that won't be released, Ruffy, on DVD. St Johnstone against St Mirren. Ross County, Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Motherwell is just what I call a slugfest.
Yeah, I think the two in the middle there are the 2 big ones we'll be keeping our eye on. You know, and whatever team wins it, we'll see a positive attitude. You know, that they're away for the bottom, and if it is Dundee United that doesn't win that game, you know, there is going to become a gap. There's not been a gap created for a long, long time, but once that gap appears, you know, then that's when we've sorted Dundee United. We've just discussed it there now, the things that are going on behind the scenes, and that will just get worse and worse. And the manager's right, you know, it does affect the players if the fans turn on them. So you don't want to see anybody. We don't want to see a young manager getting sacked, so you hope they get something out of that. Yeah,
you've always maintained Kilmarnock are going down, and then it's a permutation for who's in the playoff.
Yeah, I've always said that. I think it's very difficult coming up, and circumstances with the Kyle Lafferty carry on and everything hasn't helped things. I just don't think they've brought in as many fresh faces as all the other teams, so they are struggling, particularly away from home. That record speaks for itself. They are winning at home, but they're like everybody else. If they get a 1-0 win, you know, they'll think, oh, we're on the up, and that's what every team down there will be saying to themselves.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything Alan says. I think Kilmarnock would be for me the big danger sign. I think because you struggle to see who's going to get them goals. I mean, if you could say to any one of those managers at the bottom 6, what would you want now? Give me a striker that'll give me, and we're not talking about even double figures, give me 9 goals between now and the end of the season. And they would go up, the bunting would be out and the brass band going around. We're talking about as few goals as that. But you just wonder where it's going to come from. Kilmarnock, you've got ideas of where it might come from Motherwell, Van Veeren, etc. Ross County are quite a productive team, and they've got players up front, Brophy, and you're just looking at Kilmarnock, where will it come from?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's the Scottish Premiership. Ian McGrath says, Peter, could you ask Ruffy what he would think of Scott McDonald and Chris Doolan as a partnership in the dugout now that Scott has thrown his hat in for the job at Thistle?
Scott
McDonald.
Has he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that. I think, again, results, will determine that as well. I would think maybe if a couple of results, it would be there. Chris would be there till the end of the season. I think obviously getting in the 4 would be the target now. I don't think winning the league is a possibility. So getting in the playoffs is important, and then remains to be seen who is applying for their jobs. And it depends if the powers that be decide if it is going to be Chris, or somebody more experienced.
Yeah. Do you think it should be somebody more experienced?
I think we'd wait and result. I have to say, yeah. I think Chris is a legend at the club. He's been doing academy football. I think it's a massive jump. We saw with Stevie Hamill at Motherwell. I think it's somebody with experience that needs to go in there. I'm not saying Chris wouldn't have a part to play somewhere in the background, but I think the next another two away games are very important. Arbroath and then Dundee, and I think there's a midweek one as well. So results are all, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
results are all. If you were to win 5 games in the bounce, everybody would be saying you've got to give it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, some cases 2 games in the bounce. That's why Stuart Kettlewell is a new Motherwell manager. This is the football show. We're on Monday to Friday, 4 till 5. But there's so much more content. Kerry Pollock presents her Saturday preview show of the Scottish Premiership, and she'll look towards the League Cup final as well. And of course, you only have to look at on Tuesday night, Adam Binney in here, and Adam's been out and about. He's got 2 fabulous features coming up that I think you're really going to enjoy. We've got an Old Firm special with Adam, with 2 former stars chatting about the big game on Sunday, and then there's another feature where I think if you love your football and the art of coaching, you're certainly going to enjoy it next week. And we've got a brilliant one-to-one that Kerry Pollock will deliver to you over the weekend, that I think if you are a fan of a certain club in Edinburgh, then it's well worth tuning in on PLZ's content on our YouTube channel. There's so much to get there, and if you download the app, you'll get even more breaking football news on PLZ Soccer's app in Google Play and in the App Store. So good luck with that, and thank you to so many of you for downloading the podcasts and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We really are delighted at the coverage we're getting, and of course the people consuming all of our content, not just the football show. And there's some really good one-to-ones, including one which I think quite a lot of people will want to hear on Monday coming out, that I think I've caught up with someone that will interest people in the Central Belt as well. I can give you the teasers, can't do any more than that. I witnessed, I think, one of the best games of this season at Anfield on Tuesday night, just because I was able to see a side that I wonder who's going to stop them winning European Cup Champions League number 15 in Real Madrid. It was an absolute joy to watch them, and I wonder... that I watched them dismantle Celtic in the last 30 minutes of the game at Celtic Park. They were just, it was mesmerising, Hugh.
Well, what they've got is that wonderful thing of the old heads. I mean, Kroos only came on late on, we know that, but Modric, not only played a long time in the match, but played a really influential part in the match as they came into it. Benzema up front, who can barely run now, but it's terrific that when he does run, I thought that Benzema's goal as well, where he made that finish look almost routine, Peter, when he has to actually jink around the goalkeeper and then avoid 3 defenders lunging on the line, and you just know before he hits it, it's a goal.
It's almost as if his heart rate just drops.
This is my time, but they've got that stuff, been there, seen it, done it, and they've got the guys that are really coming through. I think Vinicius Junior is now staking his claim for the next big thing. I think he's that good. I think he's saying to himself, okay, with your Haalands and things like that, and Mbappe's, I actually think he's getting into that level, no problem at all.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with them, impressed with their composure.
In contrast, Liverpool, I think you could ditch 4 or 5 players. If they have any hopes of coming back quickly and rebuilding that side, I think Klopp has to say to the owners, go out and get Bellingham at all costs.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got to rebuild his team. There's 2 interesting things going, Klopp works in cycles. He seems to be, he lasts 5 or 6 years at a club, and then the club just goes thump.
Yeah.
It happened at Mainz, it happened at Dortmund, and it's now happened at Liverpool. And this is not a criticism, because what he did at Liverpool was absolutely spectacular. It was spectacular. He took a club that was in the relative doldrums, won the Premier, won everything.
Yep.
Won everything with them. So, there's no criticism for me here. But it has got to look at it not only as a team that's coming to the end of its cycle, but as a manager. And the reason I'm thinking that is I'm looking at the Bundesliga at the moment, and there's not very many jobs in the world that you can leave Liverpool for. But the Bayern job, I think, might come up, because Nagelsmann and what's going on behind the scenes there is no means to. Will the German job even come up? And will they have a look at the World Cup and say, no, we really have to change this?
Yeah.
And that'd be two jobs that he would go for, and then you get a complete rebuild. But this is not said after the event. On Tuesday before the match, the German crew, WhatsApp crew that I'm in with, my son and Andy, his mate, I mean, we always say, well, who's winning this? And I say, well, see, sometimes I just look at the midfields to decide who wins a game. And if you look at Real Madrid's midfield against a midfield of Fabinho, who's okay, Henderson, who's done,
yep,
and a young laddie, Bashevic, he might have a great career against him. You just knew that this is a team that's...
I like him.
I think he'll be good, aye. but he wasn't on Tuesday.
No, exactly. No, you're absolutely right, Hugh, and I think they need the likes of a Bellingham and then 2 or 3 others of that, what I call, it's what Alex Ferguson used to do brilliantly, Ruffy, which is that sprinkling of gold dust with a spine of steel.
Bellingham's an interesting one, Peter, because he's going to have the choice of anything he wants.
Got 6 clubs now, all
and
on
all the
case.
top class. And he's going to make it, and Liverpool's pitch to Bellingham is perhaps the most difficult one.
Yeah, absolutely. So I watched that. Real Madrid trounced Liverpool. Napoli, for me, are a right good bet to win this if Real Madrid don't. But I can't see past Real Madrid. It's amazing Champions League football. We'll watch it, the Celtic Rangers game, for a different kind of atmosphere. It's certainly one of the top derbies in the world, but only for that kind of sheer lunacy factor. Certainly technically not one of the best derbies in the world. But when you watch Champions League, you see the levels that everybody's at and where Scottish football is. And we want to promote Scottish football, but we want to, in this programme, try and be realistic to people and not, fill their head full of cheesy nonsense. I watched Leipzig Man City last night, Ruffy. My God, it was like a fantastic school game. They went at it, then they came at it, then they came at it. It was unbelievable. Technically brilliant.
That's what you want to see. You want to see that, that's what you pay your money for. Pay good money to go and see that kind of football. And in fairness to Man City, they were the away side. They gave as good as they got. I think they thought at one stage, right, that's enough. And then obviously they lost the goal. But I think they know that within themselves they've got enough for the second leg. I think they know, but they've still got to go and do it.
Yeah, still got to go and do it. But after a 1-1 draw in Germany, Pep Guardiola mentioned the fact that his players were gutted.
Yeah, because they were heads down. I said, why are you head down? You had your heads up. It was really good. The game you played. People don't like it. Doesn't matter. You play the way to play the game you should play. We could be more at the end, look more. Erling or what happened? Yeah, of course. But it's going to happen.
Yeah, he looked at it fairly realistically. I thought it was a great game. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Game.
Yeah, Inter 1, Porto 0. So that's how the Champions League looked, and there'll be about a 3-week break before they get back to the second leg. Whether I can pull off tickets for Real Madrid, Liverpool over there, Ruffy, it's going to be a really big ask.
I think we had contact. We made contacts the last time.
Can we go?
Particularly if we get getting a guy a drink. Have another drink.
It's really fantastic.
That'd be great.
I loved that stadium. Did you?
I thought it was just walking down. What's the road called? You walk down the hill. I don't know what it's called anyway. But just getting there, and then all of a sudden, it's there.
It was one of the great moments for me as well, because I'd taken my son to his first football game, which was Stirling Albion v Montrose.
Yes.
And 25 years later, he said to me, Dad, you took me to my first game 25 years ago. This month I'm going to take you to a game. Bring your passport to Edinburgh Airport. And it was Real Madrid v Seville. And it had a great Scottish scoreline, 7-3 for Real Madrid.
What a stadium, Hugh.
What a stadium, what a good... And the funniest thing ever, Ronaldo scored a hat-trick that night. He was just unbelievable. And the supporters in front of us were giving him pelters.
Is that right?
Oh, they were slaughtered. Never tracks back, never works. You know, Ronaldo just got the hat trick.
Brilliant. Football fans, fickle at the best of times. Okay, Europa League, here's what's on offer tonight if you're sitting in front of a television. I did mention to you that the best game of football that I'd witnessed was, of course, Real Madrid-Liverpool on Tuesday. The one before that I thought was the second best game of the season was Manchester United-Barcelona.
Terrific
What
game.
an absolute belter that was.
Yeah, and you can just see, can you imagine every businessman in the world who doesn't know anything about football saying, what are these two clubs doing in the second competition? They're the Champions League clubs.
Yeah.
But again, what a terrific game. How well Den Hag's doing there, and how well he's changed what is there. I mean, he's brought in good players, but I mean, Rashford is just back to what we thought he always would be.
It's amazing what managers can do when they have confidence and sit down, do one-to-ones with players and just bring out the best, that man management. And of course, sometimes managers need that little bit of a pep talk as well. And Ten Hag has been singing the praises of a Manchester United legend in Sir Alex Ferguson.
It's massive, and I always enjoy it to speak with people who have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of experience, and he wants to share it, and so he wants to help, he wants to support. You feel Manchester United is his club. He feels so committed, and he wants that we are doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Ten Hag just acknowledging Sir Alex Ferguson, and his advice in the background has been massive. Here's the fixtures for the Europa League. I'll only be watching one match, as Hugh mentioned as well. It's Michelin against Sporting Lisbon, Monaco, Bayer Leverkusen, Nantes, Juventus, PSV against Seville, Union Berlin against Ajax, Manchester United against Barcelona, Rennes against Shakhtar Donetsk, and Roma against FC RB, Red Bull Salzburg, I beg your pardon. So there you have it. That's basically what's on offer in the Europa League. If you're watching football, if you're in control of a television in your house, then good luck with that one. I asked you for the competition, which player, for the quiz, sorry Ruffy, which player in the Premier League has his name spelt incorrectly on his shirt? Have you got the answer?
No, I haven't. I would stab a guess at maybe one of the Japanese players, no?
Okay, in the Premier League in England.
England?
Yeah.
You just say Premier League.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't know.
No.
I would say maybe Haaland, because
They miss out an A or something like that.
they put two E's when you could spell his name an A with one of those little umlauts at top.
Yeah, well, the man in question is Casemiro.
Oh.
Because somebody spelt it incorrectly many years ago, and he just stuck with it.
No way.
So it's Casemiro.
Hey, guys. Well done, Patrick.
Well
That's
done,
a good,
Patrick.
that's a good question. I like that.
Like that one. Well, happy with that. So that's the answer, in case you managed to get it. Just before we go, we will give you a chance to enter the competition. We always like to play it one more time. So here's Adam with the details.
It's another fantastic competition from PLZ Soccer. You can win this Lionel Messi Argentina World Cup winning replica jersey by answering this simple question. Who did Argentina defeat in the 2022 World Cup final? Post your answers in the comments section below. If you want to double your chances of winning, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Good luck.
And just before we go, as ever, it's been a strange old week or two when you look at the way we were brought up, and the sometimes only 3 channels on. I think, if my memory serves me correct, Paul Coyer said hello, welcome to Channel 4, and that would have been early 90s, was it?
Maybe,
yeah. Certainly, it wouldn't be too far away from 91, 92. I might be wrong on that with Channel 4, but there was 3 channels, Ruffy. We were talking about Dickie Davis passing away in the world of sport, and he certainly was an icon. Today, again, I think most of us who love our football, whether it's on any channel, we always pass comment on who we like as presenters and commentators. I was lucky enough to meet John Motson, and he sent out one of his legendary commentary sheets for me to help me as I wanted to do commentary when I was young. And, you know, I think he did that to a lot of people that he wanted to see them progress in the industry. And he sadly passed away at the age of 77. He's covered 10 World Cups, 10 European Championships, 29 FA Cup finals for the BBC, known as Motti. He was really an icon of the commentary world.
Yeah, I never had the pleasure of meeting him. I was like everybody else, used to see him standing trackside in his big coat, his big sheepskin coat, which Archie obviously pinched later on.
50 years in the game though, roughly, is some going, isn't it?
It is, and when he stood trackside and whenever he had that mic in his hand, it was the gospel.
No.
You know, whatever he said, he knew about both sides, he knew who was playing, who wasn't playing, and, you know, he was just thoroughly professional, you know, and again, you know, that somebody that in our era, you know, that he just switched on and he was there.
Yeah.
He was everywhere, every game. He seemed to cover about 5 games a day.
It's an interesting thing you're saying about everybody universally said, I never met him either, but universally said he was a nice man. And I always remember poor old Dickie Davis died this weekend. I loved him. Anybody of a certain age would have loved Dickie on a Saturday morning, world of sport. Bringing on the wrestling before we got whatever else. And he just looked a really nice guy. And you go again. I was so relieved that when I met people who really knew him and worked with him and all, they said, absolute gem of a guy. And you know that way, you're just so pleased that, you know, that he was a great guy. But that thing is a way that can never happen again. No. Because it's too disparate. Imagine how many television commentators there are now.
Yeah.
There's got to be 8 for the games tonight, because every, you know, whoever's got the rights, I think it's BT. We'll do every comment. We'll do a commentary, probably red button in every game. In the old days, it was one game, one commentator.
Absolutely, and he was an absolute legend. And our thoughts, prayers, and of course condolences to John Motson's family and all his friends as well. And there were many of them. So a sad day in the broadcasting world. Thanks to Gallant, who every now and then likes to just baseball bat us with a line. And I think, Gallant, you deserve the last word here. He says, Ruffy remembers when the radio was invented. So there you are. A good way to kick a man when he's down. But as ever, Monday to Friday, we don't mind getting battered as long as you keep it sane and you don't use profanities. We like a bit of banter on the programme. It's uncensored, unbiased, unmatched. And of course, we ask you, if you get a chance, stream, share, subscribe. It's absolutely free to watch us. Thank you to so many of you who are so interested in what we're doing, not only here in the football show, but all the other content we have in PLZ Soccer. From Ruffy, Hugh McDonald, and from myself, Peter Martin, thank you for watching.